We think you guys may be in need of help.
Up next on UBC, brought to you by
Keep the lights on. Use Airtel Money to pay for all your Yaka bills conveniently. Open the My Airtel app to buy Yaka units. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
A very good evening and a warm welcome to a first edition of UBC News Tonight on this 25th day of September 2022. Now, before we delve into tonight's news bulletin, let's first take a look at the top stories of the night. And in our top stories tonight, thugs rob a seed school in Kabarole of its computers. NRM Women League Southern Africa chapter discussed diaspora partnerships. Story behind Uganda's historical monuments. And in sports, Uganda bags 46 medals at All Africa Para Badminton. Good evening once again. I'm Lorene Masika Kazimoto here to bring you tonight's news bulletin, and we start off with our first headlining story this evening. A seed school in Kabarole has lost its computers to suspected robbers who broke into the school and carried them away. Now, local government minister Victoria Businje Rusoke, who also doubles as Kabarole District Woman Member of Parliament, has visited a St. Paul Nyabwea seed school in Kasenda Sub-County Kabarole District after the report of robbery.
A newly built and equipped seed school, which was yet to be commissioned, has been stripped of its computers by suspected robbers who sneaked into the school under the cover of darkness and carried away the processors.
Try to be observant. If you were very keen, you would have seen suspects lingering around the school. A thief cannot just come randomly without taking serious look, exit. So we have to be cautious. And our local askaris must be very, very vigilant.
The State Minister for Local Government, Victoria Rusoke, visited the school and pledged to have the heist investigated.
Because would we have left the computers in the bush? Where we carried, we touched, but where someone touched to carry, also touched. So I'm not happy that nothing was done at all in suspect that the scene had already been tampered with. They touched very many places.
She praised the community for quickly responding to the alarm raised by the school guard during the night, which caused the robbers to abandon some of their loot in a banana plantation. Minister Victoria, however, wants the police to utilize its forensic department to speed up the investigation.
And as leaders, let's follow up very, very keenly. I'm not happy when the district CID says the place was tampered with. Something must have been done. Of all the fingerprints that are captured, when they are taken to mirror, whoever has an identity card has his or her fingerprints there. So you can't rule out after all those fingerprints that maybe they couldn't be one or two strangers.
The minister stated that government has prioritized the study of ICT, especially at secondary school level, and pledged to engage Minister of Energy to light up the school during the night.
Done in the whole country. I'm going to inform the minister, she's very understanding, and the priority will be maybe to connect us since the codes are there. So I'm going to make a report.
According to Godfrey Businje, the school head teacher, the robbers cut the barbed wire fence to gain access to the school premises. They broke into the IT laboratory window to access the computers. Ruta Gideon and Annette Asasira, both of whom are area councillors, have commended the intervention of Minister Victoria in safeguarding government property. Sudat Kaye, UBC News.
Uganda Ambassador to South Africa Paul Amoru has asked Ugandans living in South Africa and neighboring countries to embrace trade as a way of creating wealth to boost Uganda's economy. Amoru was addressing an NRM Women League Southern Africa chapter conference in Johannesburg, South Africa.
National Resistance Movement Party Women League in Southern Africa have pledged to continue mobilizing for the party and strengthen ties with South Africa. This was during the ongoing NRM Women League Southern Africa Chapter Trade and Commerce Conference in Johannesburg, South Africa. Uganda's ambassador to South Africa, Paul Amoru, addressed the conference and urged Ugandans in South Africa and the diaspora generally to get involved in business and trade for the betterment of Uganda's economy.
At the embassy, we are focusing more on economic and commercial diplomacy. And the theme of the NRM Women's Meeting addresses specifically this. So we are looking at areas of promoting trade. And in promotion of trade, we need to open markets for Ugandan products, Ugandan commodities, and even services.
The founder NRM Women League Southern Africa Chapter, Nesima Kemiat, says the initiative is aimed at empowering NRM party women to lead better livelihoods.
Tukole Women's League ngeyina abantu bangi nnyo ekitegeera kubeera tuyamba abantu mukyala munaffe bwafuna obuzibu tetumulekerera tugezaako okulaba nti tumuyamba tuyina activities ze tukola nga ffe ng'abakyala naye nga twetaaga n'abakyala e Uganda like Women's League.
The patron NRM Southern Africa Chapter Philip Kakuru lauded President Museveni for improvising a computerized service system that enables easy processing of passports and national identity cards.
Conference is a women's conference, a women's league conference. It is a follow-up of other events of the NRM that have been taking place. As you're aware, in 2019, we are the first chapter in the diaspora to endorse the president as our solo candidate for 2021, which we did successfully at the Convention Center. We came after that, after our victory, we held another conference.
The NRM party chairman in South Africa, Ismail Luzike, asked government and URN to tax Ugandan products to South Africa and vice versa for better business transactions.
What we are here to do is to implement the government program so that this young generation, because most of the young people here, that is where they belong to opposition. But we have tried to advise them, and most of them, they have seen the limelight, and they have realized how good our country is because we are advising them to love Uganda and build Uganda.
The event chief organizer, Norman Nesima, asked men to always support women in business and trade for equitable development.
A woman, once she's given anything small, she can turn it into something big. So if we as men support all the ladies that are in the society or support the women that are in our lives, then we will definitely have to, it will definitely lead to a very developed society, harmonized society, and a lot of good things come.
Ivan Juko, Wycliffe Mudach, UBC News.
National Resistance Movement members of Parliament have been asked to emphasize unity as they prepare to elect East African Legislative Assembly representatives. The Director of Mobilization at NRM, Rosemary Nansubuga-Seninde, says that for the party to achieve victory, togetherness among the members should be a priority. We have the details in this report.
With just few days left for the East African Legislative Assembly, Uganda chapter NRM members of Parliament have been asked to ensure the party achieves victory in the elections. The Director Mobilization at the NRM party at Kyadondo, Rosemary Nansubuga-Seninde, says to achieve victory, members ought to be united and focused. NRM party with majority in Parliament has 6 slots out of the 9 and the rest for other parties.
Of course, to do the needful, I'm glad that NRM has the biggest number in Parliament and we know they are going to do the right thing. But of course, even in the countryside, I want to thank God that all the by-elections we've held, we've been able to win them as NRM. We have done our mobilization and the people concerned have done their part.
She also thanked party members across the country for the victory in the just concluded by-elections that were won by the NRM flag bearers. This was during the function where a number of NGOs in partnership with Chide Primary School Kasangati donated scholastic materials to the learners. The proprietor, Chide Primary School, Zephania Chiza-Seninde, says they have handed over 600 school bags, pencils, pens among other scholastic materials.
The government is not collecting enough taxes these days. Let us be kind enough. That's why you see I'm supposed to get school fees from these children. But now it's my responsibility when I see parents were paying well. Now they're not paying well. I start to question myself why. It's because of the COVID, which has caused all this.
Some parents thanked the NGOs and the school administration for the donation. Sudat Kaye, Fred Kasivante, UBC News.
Now, the cultural leader of the Lango community, Dr. Michael Odong, has appealed to community vigilance against Ebola virus. He was addressing a cultural event in Lira City, and he explained that cross-border movement by residents should be avoided to de-escalate Ebola spread.
The Lango culture leader, Dr. Michael Odong, has asked a culture meeting in Lira City to be alert and avoid any contacts with travelers who might be conveyors of Ebola virus disease. Odong urged Ugandans to place emphasis on health and sanitation, environmental protection, and shielding the parish development model resources against graft.
Tony right. Ramai corona na gumerma corona. Chika me dah hatal yo, punya me dah hatal jami yo, kere kami jami yo. Baby, pohar kere. Tony right tuan. Chil komir betie, lok cinca duch. The
event was also addressed by the Prime Minister, Lango Culture Institution, George Ojwang.
I am urging our people to really take good care of themselves. Take care, always also be using a mask. I have even removed mine, but I have to take back onto masks and take all the precautions that can really prevent us from catching up with this virus.
The head of Ochukuru Gore clan, Jerome Agena, explained that Lango culture institutions play a big role in community development, mainly on issues around health and welfare.
They should take care of that money, because the government is giving money to its people, so that its people can be able to make life out of that money. So I urge the business community to keep that money well. That if it is kept well, it also encourages the government to add more. If it is misused, the government will not be encouraged to add more.
Vincent Wamundu compiled this report.
The Bishop of Mityana Anglican Diocese, Dr. James Bukomeko, has advised National Environment Management Authority to strengthen laws against wetland encroachment to avoid floods and destroying forests. Bukomeko says preventing encroaches on wetlands and other ecosystems will help in the protection and environment conservation. We have the details.
The Bishop of Mityana Anglican Diocese, Dr. James Bukomeko, has advised NEMA management to double efforts geared at ensuring environment protection.
See that we protect our environment. We should stop cutting trees without planting them. We need to work together, and also the government should come in to teach the people, and also not invading swamps. We have seen many factories these days being put in swamps. This is going to cause a serious problem in Uganda.
This was during a church service characterized by a fundraising drive for the renovation of St. Stephen's Church of Uganda Rutete Archdeaconry in Duero Diocese. Over 30 million shillings was raised in cash and pledges for the renovation of the church, and 109 million shillings is needed to complete construction works. The King of Buganda prays from this church that is close to Bamnanika Palace.
The total budget is 109 million Uganda shillings. Today, we have been able to realize 31 million Uganda shillings, which will be catering for roofing.
The bishop encouraged landlords to stop evicting Vivanja holders unlawfully and urged the lands ministry to manage rampant land wrangles that are affecting developments. State Minister for Higher Education, Dr. John Chrysostom Muyengo, was represented by his personal assistant, Abdukarim Waswa, who advised Christians to contribute generously towards God's house.
Honorable Dr. John Chrysostom Muyengo, omulimu gwakoze wano mulungi nnyo era guweesa Katonda ekitiibwa. Dr. John Chrysostom Muyengo ku mulimu guno gw'okuddaabiriza ekifo kino yakakuteekako obukadde 3.
UBC News Tonight. Residents living around Bwindi Impenetrable National Park in Ruhija Town Council, Rwanda District, and those in Buhoma Town Council, Kanungu District, are concerned about wild animals that invade their communities and destroy crops. Residents are worried of contracting deadly diseases like Ebola that can easily be spread between humans and animals.
All is not well with communities neighboring wildlife sanctuaries. In Kanungu District, there is a loud complaint of wild animals attacking communities, damaging property and sometimes killing residents. Muzei Mugayi Sulait, who lives near Bwindi National Park, says he resorted to farming with now 6 acres of coffee, but wildlife often damage his gardens.
Ekiyamba nnyo kubanga omuntu bwaba nga mulimi wa mwanyi tanza kudatira mpaka kunonya obusoro bw'umupaka oba kugenda kutema imiti je mupaka. Aba conservation baturetera katare ono mucyara gradisi kubanga yatwikiriza ku imwanyi kuzikora obulungi netuziteka ku mutindo katakabe katuwa tuganyirwamu karungi.
So through Gorilla Conservation Coffee, we're convincing them that it's good, keep growing your coffee. We're going to give you a good price for good coffee, and for them to grow good coffee, it takes a lot of time, so they don't have time to poach, and we're telling them we're doing this to protect the gorillas.
Most communities around Bwindi National Park abandoned illegal poaching and resorted to some other economic activities. They remain disgruntled with some of the wild animals that invade their crops.
Also, the gorillas come out. Also, they destroy our crops. And there is no compensation. We have not gotten. So it is a challenge that the people here living around the park are facing.
They come into us like baboons.
But of course, baboons, locals have, when you declare an animal vermin, the locals are allowed to kill that animal when it is outside the protected area. But when it's inside the protected area, no way.
Residents have reached relevant authorities for interventions, but all in vain. Residents are fearing that they might contract Ebola because it is transmitted by animals.
So they transmit the diseases from the communities and then to the park, and maybe also from the park to the community.
We have a community conservation department which deals with that mainly. We have a lot of interventions. We are now we have a fence of bees around the park boundary. So around the park boundary, we now have beehives. You know the beehives when the elephants want to pass, and the beehives, the bees are disturbed.
This prompted a public health organization to carry out sensitization around different communities.
We carry out a lot of behavior change communication, where what we do is, on top of like testing gorillas for diseases, we also test people in areas where gorillas are picking up diseases from people. We test the livestock as well, and then we improve the health of the communities through village health teams. We call them village health and conservation teams because they're not only doing VHT work, they're also doing conservation work. They go out and educate people.
Christians in Bunyoro-Kitara Diocese this Sunday thronged St. Luke's Church of Uganda in Kagadi district to celebrate golden anniversary of the diocese. The Minister of State for Gender and Culture, Peace Mutuzo, who also doubles as the Bunyagabu District Woman Member of Parliament in Toro Region, represented the Vice President, Major Jessica Alupo. Details follow. The Vice President, Major Jessica Alupo, who was invited as a chief guest, was represented by the Minister of State for Gender and Culture, Peace Mutuzo, the Bunyangabu District Woman Member of Parliament in Toro Region. The Jubilee anniversary started with marching through Kagadi town, followed by a Thanksgiving service led by Bishop Samuel Kahuma. The Minister of State for Gender and Culture, Peace Mutuzo, represented the Vice President Jessica Alupo, donated 10 million Uganda shillings towards the construction of a guest house in Hoima City.
What are you taking to the roadside?
Minister Mutuzo toured various exhibitions of Kagadi women projects, castigated rampant theft, burglary, child marriages, and women battering.
Their properties hijacked under the disguise of the governance. So those loans, organizations which are not registered, need to be banned out of Kagadi, out of Bunyoro, to liberate our people.
The Assistant Diocesan Head of Laiti Bunyoro-Kitara Diocese and Chief Warden at St. Luke's Church of Uganda Archdeaconry, Kabasana Alice, implored girls to cherish education for their bright future.
To the girl children, when you go to school, go for a reason, because when I'm no more in the service, you are coming next to take leadership. Girls who are dropping out of school, it's not the best choice, please. Carry on until you complete your studies. At one time, you will become like Teacher Alice or be like any other woman.
The Deputy RDC Kagadi, Benjamin Tumusime, thanked President Museveni for ushering in women emancipation. The colorful function was graced by the retired Anglican Archbishop Stanley Ntagali, political leaders, public servants from 5 districts of Kagadi, Kibale, Chikube, Hoima, and Kakumiro. Bunyoro-Kitara Diocese was carved out of Rwenzori Diocese in 1972 and has since initiated numerous projects and programs, including establishment of health centers, schools, among others. Development partners supporting refugees have asked government to consider allocating bigger chunks of land to refugee hosting communities to promote commercialized agriculture. They say this will promote food security and improve social and economic development among the refugees and the host communities.
Adventist Development and Relief Agency Manager, Peace Project in Bidi Refugee Settlement, Yumbe District, Samujin says, with dwindling donor funding to refugee settlements, there is need for more intervention for self-sustenance. This was during celebrations marking 1.5 years of Peace Project in Bidi Refugee Settlement and host communities. Peace Project aims at improving food security for over 1,800 smallholder farmers through block farms and backyard gardens and equipping 867 youths with vocational and life skills.
For last year, we managed to reach over 478 learners, and we are happy to report that over 80% of the learners that we are trained are self-employed, meaning that most of them have their businesses and they are contributing to household income. Of course, what the main goal of the project is to ensure that the refugees are resilient and they are able to sustain themselves.
ADRA also came in to train us more about the savings. So they gave us even the tools for saving, and then up to now the group is doing well in their savings and using out the loans to help us to run our business like this.
In February 2021, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, with the support from Norwegian Embassy Kampala and Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, started implementing the project in Bidi Refugee Settlement. During the 1.5 years, the project has improved educational optimism, guidance and counseling, economic empowerment with the aim of empowering children, youths and women in the communities.
We have also been having awareness creation, dialogues in the communities, to ensure that we pass on this information. And I believe this information has reached the masses and they are really aware.
The district production officer said over 1.6 billion shillings has been invested in the project. He, however, noted that farmers are still facing enormous challenges, citing the poor road network, among others.
The agricultural production, people are practicing subsistence farming. So in practicing subsistence farming, farmers are using farmer-owned saved seeds, which do not give them a lot of yield at the end of the harvest. So it's a challenging thing. Two, there's a challenge to marketing access. So the market access by the farmers is still limiting, simply because the district at the same time with development partners, they are operating at the primary phase. They are not moving the secondary phase.
Annette Nambiru, UBC News.
A devotional book meant to inspire women in Africa to seek God diligently through prayer has been launched in Kampala. The Chancellor, Kaiwa International University, Professor Simeon Kaiwa, launched the book at an event held at East African University, Kansanga. The book, titled On Bended Knees, is written by Professor Ijoma Blessing Anumaka, a founding pastor of International Women of Victory.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
The Chancellor, Kaiwa International University and founder of Namirembe Christian Fellowship, Professor Simeon Kaiwa, has said prayer is the utmost instrument for addressing complex issues by humanity. Kaiwa was launching a book that motivates women into prayer. He described it as a devotional book for all humanity.
Successful in life without bowing to God. Bowing, meditating, and planning, and then hop, step, and jumping. Before you do all the things, you got to bow in order that you overcome the obstacles before you. Yeah, that's what the book is about. That it's a very deep one.
The book, titled On Bended Knees, written by Professor Ijoma Blessing Anumaka, the founding director of International Women of Victory, highlights several ways the reader can understand God and overcome life challenges on bended knees.
It's going to help them when they read, they get inspired to pray. That's why you gave them a book called On Bended Knees, because of all the things that are happening now. So we needed to reawaken the spirit of prayer.
According to Cecilia Kaiwa, an associate director of Kaiwa International University, the book compounds a strong word bend, which means the act of bending to overcome hurdles, is the spirit of wisdom that preoccupies many women globally.
It's encouraging us to learn how to pray, to be prayerful people, because prayer It's a kind of knocking on God's door. And there are certain things we cannot do, but through prayer, we can do them. We can receive them.
During the ceremony, Professor Kaiwa was awarded a recognition award from International Women of Victory for massive spreading the true word of God globally. Story by Abraham Boita.
UBC News Tonight takes a very short break, but returns after these messages.
Ni MTN Kabode Super as you pay mpola for this smartphone. Make calls, update your WhatsApp status, watch YouTube, and Google anything under the sun with 2 GB worth of data every month for 7 months. Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly, or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN Kabode Super easy.
Forget last season. Forget the oohs and ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show. Because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
Meet Professor Petero. He knows something every hustler in UG is gonna love.
Oh, see. You say I was just trying to get the documents to register for Airtel Money.
You don't need the documents. You just say for register. Yes. Become a safer and more efficient cash-free business today. Easy.
Not mixing your business money with your Kameza money. No, that's efficient.
Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
I remember the lockdown, when the streets were empty and our lives disrupted, when businesses closed and our livelihoods hung in the balance. Hospitals were full. We lost loved ones, jobs, and hope. Our children couldn't study anymore. We cannot let this happen again. We should not go back. Get fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and join the millions of Ugandans who are already vaccinated.
Airtel is giving you bigger data bundles for the same price. Dial *175# to choose from our range of bigger Chillax bundles that don't expire and stay connected longer to loved ones. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Our wetlands are being lost at a very alarming rate. Wetlands have become the most threatened ecosystem 3 times faster than the forest. With 35% loss globally since 1970, a quarter of wetland-dependent species are near extinction. This is a very serious loss to our economy and natural resource-based country. The government of Uganda is determined to reverse this trend. Therefore, my ministry calls upon fellow Ugandans to contribute to the conservation and sustainable use of the limited resources. Ugandans, stop cultivating, putting up buildings, and dumping in the wetlands.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Water and Environment, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Uganda National Meteorological Authority, with support from Government of Uganda, Green Climate Fund, and the United Nations Development Programme.
Stay connected on the largest 4G network in Uganda using the Airtel 4G Pocket MiFi at only 75,000 Uganda shillings. It comes with 15 GBs free, valid for a month. You can connect up to 10 of your friends and family at a go. Visit the nearest Airtel shop to get one today or call 0800 333 330 for free delivery within Kampala. Dial *175 *9# to activate free 15 GBs. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Welcome back from that break. I'm glad that you're still with us. It's UBC News Tonight. Uganda has transitioned since the colonial times with several events. Some of these have been adorned in historical monuments to define the country's struggle to attainment of self-rule. As Uganda prepares to mark 60 years of independence on the 9th of October, UBC Newsroom delves deeply into some of these landmark monuments. Take a look.
Monuments are landmarks or statues that depict the history of the past events or put up in commemoration of past historical events and the country's heritage. One of the most significant historical monuments Uganda has is the Independence Monument. Located along Speak Road opposite Standard Chartered Bank, the Independence Monument is the most significant in the political history of Uganda.
It was there when the independence is in place now.
Constructed by Grigore Maloba, the statue that shows a man unwrapping a child and raising it up depicts Uganda's journey in attainment of freedom from the colonialists.
Uganda, we have already developed a lot from that day, from those years.
Sir Edward Frederick Luwangula Mutesa II was Uganda's first ceremonial head of state. Immediately after attainment of self-rule from British, he was elected through a coalition between UPC and Kabaka Yeka in 1963. His statue is found along Speak Road roundabout. Mutesa was also the 35th king of Buganda, who ruled till his death.
The present Kabaka is His Highness Sir Edward William Frederick David Walungembe Mutebi Luangula Mutesa II.
The other significant structure is the World War Monument, said to be the oldest monument in Kampala. The statue is located next to the Central Police Station and depicts memory of both the First and Second World War. The monument signifies disturbing times for the whole world that led to a series of loss of lives of Ugandans who participated in the two wars to support the British forces. The statue was constructed by the British colonial government in 1945 and is printed on the back of the 5,000 shilling note. The other historical monument is the British Friendship Monument at Entebbe on the way to the airport, and it symbolizes the assurance of Uganda never to attack Britain. Another remarkable monument is Captain Lugard Monument at Old Kampala, in memory of the renowned British colonial military agent, Captain Frederick Lugard. While administering Uganda, Captain Lugard journeyed around the Rwenzori Mountains to Lake Edward, mapping a large area of Uganda. The Statue of Leadership was also unveiled in 2002 in tribute of Sir Apollo Kagwa, who was the first Prime Minister of Buganda Kingdom from 1890 to 1926. Sir Apollo Kagwa is remembered for his campaign and fight for the extension of clean water and electricity to Buganda Kingdom. This sculpture is found at Amber House along Kampala Road. The Centenary Monument is located along Ginger Road inside Centenary Park. It was built by Makerere University artist called Sylvia Katende to commemorate Kampala City Council's centenary celebrations. Other monuments include the education monuments found in academic institutions depicting their visions, morals, or missions. The above pieces of history is what Ugandans need to be familiar with in their real interpretation, especially the Independence Monument, which is one of the highly profiled and relevant pieces depicting a sign of freedom from the colonial master. Susan Naonga reporting for EBC TV.
Thank you, Susan Nawonga. Now, as Uganda celebrates 60 years of independence, Kampala city has been expanding from 7 hills to 27 hills. The 2014 national census indicates that during daytime, Kampala city has a population of 6 million people and 2.5 million people at night. Urban development experts claim that despite this unprecedented development, Kampala has over the last 60 years of self-rule been operating and expanding with no specific infrastructural master plan.
The first capital city of Uganda was Entebbe before it was relocated to Kampala to become the capital city of Uganda in March 1962. Kampala initially was a municipality before it was elevated to a capital city. What remains unclear is how Entebbe lost its status of remaining an administrative city to a mere municipality. Available records on the Hansard of the Legiko Parliament of Uganda on March 13, 1962 indicates that Kampala was supposed to be a commercial city, not a mixture of both administrative and commercial. Before Uganda attained its independence, Entebbe, which was the capital city of Uganda, had a population of 150,000 to 250,000 people. However, with the resolution of the Legiko Parliament on March 13, 1962, that stripped Entebbe of its capital status to Kampala, Kampala at the time was comprised of 5 divisions of Kampala, Kawempe, Makindye, Rubaga and Nakawa, with a population of 800,000 people. Kampala at the time occupied 5 hills of Nakasero, Kololo, Bugolobi, Mulago, Old Kampala, Makerere. However, the biggest population occupying these hills were Asians, British colonial administrators, and few elite Ugandans. Slums or the informal settlements also existed, but in an organized way, not scattered as it is to date.
Those slums were supposed to be put up out of mud, call it mud and water. You get the point. In other words, they were not being built in permanent materials.
One of the biggest problems that the present leadership of Kampala Capital City Authority faces is failure to upgrade the underground drainage, water and sewerage pipelines that had been designed by colonialists to accommodate a population of 800,000 people to suit the current population pressure of 6 million people that occupy Kampala during daytime, and the figure exponentially drops to 2.5 million people in the night. These underground pipelines could offload liquid residues to Nachivabo Channel, but over the years, these have not been elevated to handle the current population pressure attributed to rural-urban migration. The other dilemma has been the expansion of the road network. Other than rehabilitating what the colonialists, the present city authority, has not done much to build dual carriage roads that can accommodate the current population of Ugandans driving on Kampala roads. This perhaps explains why traffic jam in Kampala city is a menace. More than 1 million vehicles and trucks are driven on roads that had been designed by colonial masters to accommodate traffic of 4,000 vehicles per day. However, some efforts have been done to increase the revenue tax base of Kampala Capital City Authority with the aim of at least making 5 kilometers of tarmac roads every financial year, but to a larger extent, such projects are overshadowed with shoddy works coupled with corruption.
The city, they did not expand that drainage. And the sewage, they've just started expanding it. We have sewage towards Nansana there. We have a new sewage going towards Mukono. We have the old sewage which is at the industrial area here.
Nakasero market was built by colonialists. Food items could be weighed before a price tag is put in this market. The blacks shunned making their way to this market to trade because all that was done in this market to them was discriminative. They opted to start their own market like Shauri Yako, a Swahili word meaning to whom it may concern for the low-income earners.
Because at that time when people used to go there, have lunch, particularly the workers, or the low-income people, and when they used to ask for water to wash their hands, the food vendors would say, it's up to you. shauri yako, it's your matter.
The markets were being built on a gazetted area. Somebody went and changed that and said that they should be given titles. Titles were given to either groups or individuals, and the problem is big in the markets until today.
Some roads in Kampala to date are still named after the colonial masters to show the history of the city, like Allen Road, De Winton Road, Macnon Road, Prince Charles Drive, Malcolm's Drive in Kololo, and many others. However, this was opposed by the KCCA Council in the 20s, which moved a motion to have names of roads changed and be named after fallen leaders of Kampala, like Sebana Kizito.
Except that some other roads were named according to tradition or to the names. The names were derived from the origin or from the culture, from the traditions of the people here, like Chagwe Road, as I said.
However, the rapid growth and development of Kampala, though often unplanned, has led to demolition of historical colonial sites like the clock tower in Kampala that was erected in remembrance of Queen Elizabeth when she first visited Uganda in 1953. The magnificent clock tower has been replaced by a flyover which former leaders at KCCA were opposed to.
The Queen was here in 1952, and the clock tower was put up in the memory of her visit to Uganda, and of course the structure itself is absent, and maybe people will find it in pictures at the Uganda Museum, but that's not good enough. Where we think we can spare some of the history, I think let us spare.
During the first post-independent Uganda, 30 years transport means was well organized. There was public transport owned by government like Uganda Transport Company. This owned a fleet of buses that could ease public transport in the city. However, with the liberalization of the transport sector, government pulled out of transport business and opened the space for private players. This partly explains the disorganized public transport system administered in Kampala, with several minibuses and border-borders disorganizing traffic flow in the city.
Go to motorbikes, and the border caught fire. The whole city is full of border. And some politicians, because they don't want to lose their votes, they don't talk about them, and they tell you to be careful with the border.
Confusion that is found on Kampala roads cannot be bearable. Some people fear even to drive in Kampala just because of the way things are happening.
The formation of a city authority by law and appointed by the president, operating alongside the political leadership of the city elected by the people and held accountable to the people, was another dilemma that has often caused an administrative crisis and politicization of everything.
We're already following the plans of development in Kampala. And then you come, you throw them out and bring a new set of workers who are not experienced, but because they have got papers, so you think that they will do a good job. And this is now what we are suffering from.
The idea was to have a chairman of an authority, which is like a board. And that chairman would be the mayor for purposes of official duties. Because of that difference, there is a pull and push between the mayor, the minister, and the other mayors of the small divisions.
Kampala capital city is the terminal road. However, the entry point to the capital Kampala remain unplanned, narrow and congested. However, the need to decongest traffic can only be addressed by building bypasses like Northern, Southern and Busega.
Me, I had thought that the flyover over Kampala would be a dual carriageway. But instead, it is, I think, a single carriageway. I don't think it will serve the service for the future. Because
haphazard planning coupled with centralization of resources for service delivery are some of the problems that have affected the development of Kampala city 60 years down the road.
The development was moving, so the people's development was moving fast, and the planning was lagging behind, physical planning. To an extent that we started breaking rules.
To sit down and emphasize planning and give these departments the facilities to do the planning.
What happened is that development has overtaken planning. In other words, now people put up structures as they like, and there's no order.
I'm Nafka Farida and Joseph Moyingo in Kampala.
In tonight's Commander-in-Chief Files, we bring you former President Milton Obote presenting the 1983-1984 budget speech before Parliament and Cabinet at a ceremony held at Conference Center in Kampala. President Milton Obote emphasized a drop in prices of basic commodities like sugar, beer, soap and salt.
Welcome to Commander-in-Chief Files, and in this episode of CNC Files, we bring you what the President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Dr. Apollo Milton Obote, said when he presented his budget speech to the Right Honourable Speaker, Cabinet, and to Ugandans who were listening in on Radio Uganda. The President emphasized the tremendous reduction in sugar, soap, and beer prices as compared to the nagging times just after the 79 war.
Mr. Speaker, examining the first 2 quarters of the fiscal year 1981-82, prices have been fluctuating to reflect demand and supply conditions. After considerable rises between April and June 1981, the prices of most commodities have tended to fall significantly below the pre-flood June 1981 levels. Due to the regularity in supply, sugar has performed best in the lot, declining by 50% of the pre-flood June level. The actual prices for imported sugar now vary between 150 shillings and 180 shillings per kilogram, compared to an average of 442 shillings in June 1981. The price of other basic commodities such as soap and salt also declined significantly, ranging between 15 to 37% over the 6-month period, that is July to December 1981. Beer prices declined steadily over the 2 quarters, with a current average of between 250 shillings and 300 shillings per half-liter bottle, depending on the brand and depending on where one buys it from.
The annual budget statement is an official statement by government that depicts the country's income and expenditure over a period of 1 year. It can also highlight tax cuts, increments, and the status of a budget, whether surplus or deficit. Uganda's gross domestic product, GDP, by then was $2.24 billion. Today, Uganda boasts of a GDP of $37.4 billion.
I remember the lockdown, when the streets were empty, lives disrupted, when businesses closed, and our livelihoods hung in the balance. Hospitals were full. We lost loved ones, jobs, and hope. Our children couldn't study anymore. We cannot let this happen again. We should not go back. Get fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and join the millions of Ugandans who are already vaccinated.
The back-to-school hustle today. Pay school fees conveniently using Airtel Money. Dial *185#. Select option 6, school fees.
Select to pay using Bridge Schools, School Pay or Beg Pay.
Select option 1, pay fees. Enter student number. Enter the amount. Enter the PIN number to complete payment. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
Welcome back from that break, and now into the business scene. The head of the Education Board, Mengo, Deborah Zawede, says specific and demand-driven skills could easily address the challenge of mismatch being witnessed among the youth. She was presiding over the pass-out of 43 trainees in solar installation who completed a 6 weeks skilling drive at Don Bosco Technical Institute in Bombo, supported by the Sendea Academy.
Buganda Kingdom leadership has called for a more defined skilling approach to minimize redundancy among the youth. The head of the Education Board in Mengo, Deborah Zawede, was speaking at the closure of a 6-week training program for solar installation technicians.
Sendea eyina engeri gyeyambako abayizi bano bo ne basasulayo katono ate Sendea ne basasulira omuwendo ogusinga obunene ate endabye nga babawadde ne toolkits oba ebyokukozesa. Ekyo nakyo kijja kusikiriza abayizi baffe okweyongera okutwala omusomo guno.
The training focused on skilling the youth earthing, wiring, installing of solar panels and lights. It was held in partnership with Don Bosco Technical Institute, Bombo.
We've seen a big change and an improvement. More mature people are also embracing this course. We've seen someone of 45 years, 42 years, because they've seen the importance, the need to be skilled, and the consumers are also becoming wise, that they need people who know something or who know what they are doing so that they can have value for money.
I think that they are in this today of graduation, this starting point for a future for Uganda, also for students, because from now on we are moving with the safe, very safe and beautiful energy is solar.
The Uganda Energy Credit Capitalization Company also acknowledged the need for more well-trained expertise in solar installation.
We are hoping that going forward we shall also extend our financing in the productive uses of solar, in addition to the clean cooking sector. One thing that we have loved today is that Sendea is coming to close the gap, because one of the challenges that we faced in the financing sector has been the issue of quality, and the quality being as a result of unskilled labor in installing the systems.
Less than 30% of Uganda's households are connected to the national electricity grid, implying that opportunities for investment, trade and services in renewable solar solutions is overwhelming.
What we've just experienced is a program where technicians have been trained for 6 weeks in practical skills of how to install and also service a solar system. So technicians really have a huge role. They have a huge role in the market. They're the ones who interface with the customers. They're the ones who are helping us create awareness for what solar systems can do.
With support of Ashden UK, the trainees were also provided with startup toolbox to ease their immediate operations in the field of solar installation. Sudat Kaye, Vincent Wamundu, UBC News.
Jubilee, cricket over Gogo, Ekula today, Ravita Motujo, October Bilal Musaba Gardens Mukono, October Mukaga Millennium Gardens Saziwaya, October Munanaji Montelembara, 10 October, 40 Poto Muchisawe, Abim October, Bale Sports Center, Umtualukomo, Yebem Tuale Santo, a meza million yemo, Wababa Tualukumia, Abana tickets of Cosa M10 Momo, Bajagusa Sulan Comitano, Binamina Romo Center, Hiva Motors, Galaxy FM, Radio 4, Kawina War, TN. Saba Furu Balamo.
Leaders who care create a good learning environment.
Because a good school equals a better life.
Raising voices.
And now into the sports scene. The second edition of the All Africa Para Badminton Championships has climaxed with Uganda bagging 45 medals, 6 gold, 11 silver and 28 bronze. The week-long competition had 140 Africa Para Badminton athletes competing for gold and the highest ranking on the continent.
Uganda completed the second edition of the All Africa Para Badminton Championship with 45 medals after stellar performance throughout the week-long competition. Uganda had 6 gold medals coming in behind Egypt that bagged 13. 140 Africa Para Badminton athletes went head-to-head in 6 major categories to claim gold and a top ranking on the continent.
The Uganda Olympic Committee would like to congratulate the Uganda Badminton Federation for putting together these 2 international events, the International Open and the Africa Para Badminton Championships. We have had close to 10 countries here from Africa who have taken part in this 2-week-long event, which has ended successfully here. We have hosted these 11 countries, the head of Africa Badminton together with Secretary General. So we congratulate President Annette and Simon for putting this together. And as you all see, we look forward to seeing how we can support the Uganda Badminton Federation Association to be able to prepare athletes for Paris 2024 and other championships.
We have evolved, we are making a lot of progress compared to the beginning. And I'm quite satisfied because, as you know, para is not an easy sport. It involves a lot of logistics. So it's not that easy, but we are trying to do our best so that to promote para, and we can see the fruit, the result.
Participants Rita Simwe and Elizabeth Mwesigwa from Uganda, Mohamed Rashid and Shaima Sama from Egypt scooped 2 gold medals each to outshine the rest.
I am so happy to be here and part of this competition. Now I am ranked number 2 on the world and number 1 on Africa. I am so happy and grateful for my country and also for all Africa.
The second edition of the All Africa Para Badminton had competitors from Burundi, Burkina Faso, Central African Republic, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, DRC, Egypt, Eritrea, Madagascar, Nigeria, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and hosts Uganda. Grace Joyce Kemigisa, UBC News.
Well, our first edition has come to an end, but do join us at 10 o'clock for UBC News, the second edition. I'm Lorraine Masika Kazimoto. I'll see you at 10.
UBC, inspiring.